The third article was an opinion piece entitled Prevention of Febrile Non-Hemolytic and Allergic Transfusion Reactions with Pre-Transfusion Medication. Is this evidence-based practice? This opinion piece was published in 2008. Doctors that are part of this opinion piece are part of Johns Hopkins Hospital's Transfusion Medicine Division team and have published other articles on various transfusion reaction practices as well. Their review was based on 4 RCT studies, which the reviewers found an inadequate amount of research done for a practice that is so commonly done in the clinical setting. I used the JBI Critical Appraisal Checklist for text and opinion papers for this article. Since this article does give quality information and recommendations for policy and practice for the future, I found this aspect to be essential for implications for future practice. The quality was deemed low due to the review done on studies that were done more than 25 years ago, and they were also only 4 studies to review. The fourth article was a systematic review of 3 randomized controlled trials named Pharmacological Interventions for the Prevention of Allergic and Febrile Non-Hemolytic Transfusion Reactions. This article was published in 2010. The review question is to assess the clinical effects and safety of pharmacological interventions for preventing NHTR in patients with and without a history of transfusion reactions. I used the JBI Critical Appraisal Checklist for systematic reviews and research synthesis to critically appraise this article. The comprehensiveness of this article deemed the quality of it to be high. The researchers are upfront on the fact that the 3 RCTs evaluated were of moderate to low quality and also had great guidance for future research. My 5th and last article was a systematic review of literature that also had recommendations for practice. It is entitled Effects of Leukoreduction and Premedication with Acetaminophen and Diphenhydramine and Minimizing Febrile Non-Hemolytic Transfusion Reactions and Allergic Transfusion Reactions During and After Blood Product Administration, a literature review with recommendations for practice. And it was published in 2014. I used the JBI Critical Appraisal Checklist for systematic reviews and research synthesis to critically appraise this article. I was able to answer all questions on the checklist for this article and therefore deemed the quality to be high. The review questions that were developed for this literature review were 2 PICO questions actually. The first was, in children receiving blood transfusions, what are the effects of leukoreduction in minimizing transfusion-associated FNHTRs and ATRs during and after blood product administration? And the second question, which is the one I focused on, were in children receiving blood transfusions, what are the effects of premedication with acetaminophen and diphenhydramine in minimizing transfusion-associated FNHTRs and ATRs during and after blood transfusion product administration? Now, the reason why this article was created was actually because leukoreduction filters, which is part of our standard blood transfusion reaction kits, is not available in many impoverished countries. And for those individuals that need to receive blood, especially in the pediatric population, these children would automatically get acetaminophen and diphenhydramine. And this article had researchers that were experienced hematological nurses that wanted to investigate what could be done for these children. And that's what I love about that article. Their findings seem finite at first, but then they also have great recommendations for future research as well.